You're listening to the Jan Price Show, and today my guest is the hostess with the mostest, Turner Classic Movies hostess, Alicia Malone, and also a very wonderful author. So welcome to the show, Alicia. It's good to have you back on.
Thank you, Jen. It's good to be back on. It's nice to see your face.
It's nice to see you too. And I look forward to seeing you at the Turner Classic Movie Film Festival in just a couple of weeks.
Mm,
Can't believe it's
yeah, it's exciting. I can't believe it's very close now. It's exciting.
It is exciting. Although when this show airs, it will only be a few days. So
Okay.
let
It's a
everybody
couple of days now. Very
a couple of
exciting.
days. Well, let's do a deep dive into the film festival this year because it's rather exciting. It's the 100th anniversary for Warner Brothers, which owns Turner Classic Movies. And so that we've got great themes this year. You ain't seen nothing yet, is the theme this year, which is I like that one a lot. Let's talk about, I mean, there's so many wonderful things going on this year. What are some of your favorite highlights that you're looking forward to?
Oh, it's always the case with the film festival that it's hard to choose a couple of films, and I'm always jealous when I look at the schedule because I often can't go to see all the films that I would want to see. But I love the fact that we're getting to celebrate the 100th anniversary for Warner Brothers. I think this is the perfect place to do it, and we've got some great restorations to show. Personally, there's a couple of films that I wish I could watch like Sorry, Wrong Number with Barbara Stanwyck. That's one of my favorites. Also with Barbara Stanwyck, Ball of Fire.
Yes.
I also really want to see Peyton Place with Russ Tamblyn, and hopefully I'll be introducing that one with him. We're still finalizing all of our schedules. The Red Shoes is hard to go by, as well as Bicycle Thieves. But we also have a lot of special guests, including our opening night, Rio Bravo, not only with Angie Dickinson, but also with Steven Spielberg and Paul Thomas Anderson, two of the best filmmakers working today.
I know. How exciting is that, to have,
It's great.
yeah, to
Yeah,
have
I
all
think
three of them. Go ahead.
it really speaks to their commitment to preservation. They're going to be talking more about the Film Foundation and how they preserve these films for future generations. And I feel like the opening night is the perfect encapsulation of our tagline at TCM of where then meets now, because you have Angie Dickinson from the film, and then you have two current filmmakers talking about the future of the film and the present day nature of the movie. So I love that balance.
I do too. And do you want to talk a little bit about what the thought going into picking Rio Bravo as the opening night film? Because there's a wonderful story behind that.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure about the story behind that. I'm sort of kept out of the conversations about programming, so you might have to tell me about that one.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I think it's about the restoration of the film, more or less, is one of the main reasons.
Yeah,
And
I know that that the Film Foundation, which was, started by Martin Scorsese and has wonderful partners in filmmakers like Steven Spielberg and Paul Thomas Anderson, they have a great partnership with Warner Brothers and with Warner Brothers Discovery. And so during this presentation, they're going to be talking to Ben about that partnership and how they're continuing this like multi-year partnership together in order to restore some of these films from Warner Brothers archive.
that's very exciting. George Stevens Jr. was on my show last year. As you know, he was the he founded American Film Institute, and that's one of the reasons
Mm-hmm.
was about restoration. And he's going to be back on the show. We've got him scheduled to talk about the audiobook, which he was recording last year when he
Oh,
was on the
awesome.
show. So I'm really excited to have him back on the show. But I'm also excited because he will be introducing one of my top 10 favorite movies that I have to watch every single year at Christmas. And that is,
Penny Serenade, yes.
yes.
That is such a heartbreaking, beautiful film. And this is going to be the restoration. Alexander Payne will be on hand to introduce the film along with George Stevens Jr. So they'll be talking about the restoration and about the film itself, which it gets me every time.
Me too.
And now whenever I put on my sneakers, I think about, being a little star and not wanting to be heard in the background of a play. it's a film that if people haven't seen it on the big screen, I would really recommend they watch it while they get a chance to.
I can't wait. I can't wait because, as
Mm.
I said, it's one I watch every single year at Christmas, and you're right, it gets me every single time. It's the best performance I think that Cary Grant ever did. And so to have George Stevens Jr. there and Alexander Payne, I just got, goosebumps with all of that.
Yes.
It's going to be just an amazing, amazing event just to see that, alone. I love the festival. There's so many things get revealed that you never were revealed before when many of these stars of the films come to introduce them and either talk with you or Ben or Dave Karger or Eddie Muller. It's always great to see. We last year, one of the things that really changed the movie for me, oh my God, now I'm gonna with Jane Seymour,
Mm.
Somewhere in Time.
Somewhere in Time, yes.
And she revealed that she and Christopher were in love. I mean, Christopher, they were
Yeah.
very much in love. And then they found out the day that they had to do that heartbreaking scene, at the towards the end, that she said when he finds the penny, if people haven't seen the movie,
Hmm.
unfortunately, and that was real. That was so real because they had just found out that they couldn't be together that day. And I won't
Yeah.
reveal any further than that, but I mean, that literally, those are the little nuggets you get by coming to the film festival. So to anybody who's out there listening to this, and if you've never been to a Turner Classic Movie Film Festival, it is I attend a lot of film festivals. You do too. This is one of the best. It's so unique. It's like old home week. Everybody has formed friendships through the years. People have come from the very beginning and they come back every year. And it is so much fun. It's just such a fun festival. So, I mean, I highly recommend
Yeah.
get your tickets. There's probably tickets still available and get your tickets.
Yeah, I know. It is really fun time, and I love seeing people return year after year, and also the people that save up for their entire year. This is their one vacation that they take to Hollywood, and Hollywood itself becomes TCM. We sort of take over the boulevard, and you get to see these stars up close and hear these conversations. And as a host, we always discover things we didn't know about the film too. Like when I was interviewing Jane Seymour about Somewhere in Time, that was new information to me because she hadn't revealed it to the public. And
Right.
she had that moment where she was like, should I say this? And she said, I'm just going to say this. And something I've found with doing these interviews over the years, the stars are always really surprised by the love that they receive from audiences. For many stars, not Jane Seymour, but for many older stars who don't get the chance to do many conversations about films anymore, they have said to me in the past, oh, do you think anyone's going to care? Will anyone be there? Will anyone be ready to watch the film? And they walk out, they get a standing ovation from the crowd, they feel the love, and I think that makes them feel a lot safer to reveal things that they never have before. Also, I love about the festival now that unfortunately, a lot of stars aren't with us. We get the next generation, the George Stevens Jr., who can share his father's legacy. I'll also be talking with David Weiler, the son of William Wyler, about How to Steal a Million. And he is just a great advocate for his father's work. And another panel I'm going to be doing at Club TCM, which is where we have a lot of conversations throughout the day, it's called Assisting the Classics. And it's a selection of assistants to Hollywood stars. So they will have some great stories,
Oh,
assistants to like George Cukor and Groucho Marx and Esther Williams and Jerry Stiller. They will be revealing their own personal relationships with these stars. So even though many of the stars of classic films have since passed, we still get to continue their legacy through these new generations and hopefully introduce their work to future generations as well.
how wonderful. That's what I'm excited about that. I really am. Do you know what other movies you might be introducing or interviewing the stars beforehand?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely doing Peyton Place with Russ Tamblyn. That was a film that we get to see the schedule before it comes out as hosts, and we get to put up our hands for films. And that was a film that I personally love. I love a good melodrama.
Yeah.
So I said, I want to do Peyton Place.
I'm going to interrupt you for half a second. I fell in love with Russ Tamlin during West Side Story. I mean, that was
Oh, Yes.
So
Yes. I
I'm
mean, he's
excited to see him. I'm glad you're doing that one. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
exactly. And he is one of our two tributes of the festival. So they'll also be playing Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, which I think it will be introduced by Dave Karger with Russ Tamblyn. And then Russ Tamblyn will be doing a long conversation with Ben Mankiewicz about his entire career, including West Side Story. I'm also going to be doing, I gotta look at my list. Oh yeah, just all I know so far is Russ Tamblyn for Peyton Place, How to Steal a Million with David Weiler, assisting the classics panel, and also going to be introducing Solo Bicycle Thieves on its 75th anniversary because that's one of my favorite films. I'll be doing a lot more than that, but we are still waiting impatiently. I'm waiting for my my schedule. I can't wait to get
I,
started and get dive into all the research I need
yeah,
to do before the festival starts.
exactly. Well, I've never seen Bicycle Thieves, so that's
Mm,
what I wonder if, can you tell me a little bit about it? Maybe our audience hasn't seen it either, so it might be a good one to
yes.
put on the list.
Yeah, this is a great film. It's one of those movies that gets studied in film school a lot, but once you see it, you realize that it has such a humanity and heart that it wins you over. So it's an Italian neorealism film, and it's directed by Vittorio De Sica. And it's a film that once you see it, you will recognize the way in which it's influenced other films and even TV shows such as Master of None. I remember that when they did the second series in Italy, they borrowed heavily from Bicycle Thieves.
Mhm.
But it's a really simple story. It's about a man just trying to provide for his family. And he has a bicycle, so he starts to ride around Italy putting up or riding around Rome, putting up posters as his job. And when his bicycle gets stolen early in the film, he has to try his best to track it down because that is his livelihood. And you really feel the stakes in how important this bicycle was to him. It's a beautiful film. It's one that you definitely need tissues for as well, and one that you should see while you get the chance.
Okay, I definitely will put that on my list. There's so many though. It's going to be interesting to
So
see
many.
which one, you can fit into your schedule. But your schedule.
Yes, I know. And I always recommend people try not only to see films that they love on the big screen, but also, if you can, try and catch something you've never seen before. So we have our discovery section, which is always filled with those interesting pre-code movies that sometimes I haven't seen either. And there's one that I haven't seen. Hopefully, I'll get to see it. If not, I'll have to make sure I watch it at home. But it's called The Wiser Sex from 1932, and it stars Claudette Colbert as a very independent young woman. It's a pre-code film, very racy, and those films are fun to watch with the TCM crowd because the crowd really gets into it. They cheer for all the minor character actors as soon as they appear on the screen. Everybody knows a lot about movies. They love movies, and they react accordingly to these pre-code films. So those ones are great to see because they're fast and funny. And if you can squeeze them in, they're always worth it.
Yeah, I love Claudette Colbert, so that would be another one to put on. You're right; those pre-code films are. You're always amazed. You go, "Oh, I thought we invented sex."
Yeah, exactly. They did that back in the 1930s. Wow.
Oh my God, they were more risky than we were.
Exactly.
So those are fun, yeah, fun ones. But you've got so many people coming. So let's, risky
Yes.
business with Rebecca De
My
Mornay
gosh.
coming in attendance. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? It's the 40th anniversary. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I can't
It's
I
hard to
can't
believe.
believe that
40.
either. That makes me feel very old, but it's going to be so interesting to hear Rebecca De Mornay talk about that film, which has gone on to become a classic. And that's one thing about TCM is that we're always evolving the definition of classic film because
Right.
now 40 years on, that movie is a classic film.
It is.
And I'll love to hear her talk about working with Tom Cruise in that movie and what that movie has meant to her. We also have really interesting guests like John Hawkes, the Oscar winning actor. I think he won an Oscar, at least nominated for an Oscar. And he's going to be talking about Shadow of a Doubt, the Alfred Hitchcock film. And Margaret, can't wait to see her. She will
Oh,
be introducing Bye Bye Birdie, which was, of course, her breakthrough role. She's
right.
so beautiful and charming in that film and still is just so wonderful a presence on screen and off screen. So I hope I get to sneak in a little conversation with her on the side and get to meet her. Then we have William Friedkin is going to be introducing The Exorcist, a film that still terrifies me all these years later.
I hate to say it, I only saw it once, and that
Oh
was
my
it. I
gosh.
could see it again. I don't
Oh
know.
my gosh, I know. On the lighter side, at our poolside screenings, we have Frankie Avalon, who's going to be talking about Beach Party. Great. I can't wait to see
I
him
know.
these days. And Ricky Lake will be talking about Hairspray. So that's also a fun time. If you can make it out into the pool, then you get to have some sunlight, some great LA sunlight, and enjoy a movie, or usually the films are at night, but you get to have the sunset, you get to have a cocktail, you get to watch a film by the pool, and those screenings are always fun
Oh,
too.
they are so much fun. They are. It's just a fun. It's a party atmosphere watching
It is,
movies
yeah.
at the poolside for sure. It's a little
Yeah,
different than seeing them in the theater, but it just adds to the whole environment. To see it.
exactly.
At
And we also have a lot of other special events happening. Again, it's just always hard to choose what to see, but we're showing House of Wax in 3D in its original 3D form, which of course was a craze, a minor craze in the early 50s as studios were trying to entice audiences away from their television. And it's always great if you get to see a silent film with a live score by Ben Modell. He's been coming to the festival for many years now, and he's a great advocate for silent film preservation, and he often plays live soundtracks to silent films around town. So getting to see him perform that live is always something that is you won't regret seeing. It's a memorable experience.
Yeah, it is. I have seen a number of silent films with the music, right there, and it's written usually for that particular film, and it is an incredible experience and enhances the whole, um, yeah, the experience of seeing that
Yeah.
silent film for sure, for sure. We've got so many other things to talk about. The 75th anniversary of the Treasure of the Sierra Madre with Danny Houston. Love him.
Yes. So, yeah, Danny Houston, who has, of course, blazed his own career as an actor in his own right, but is following in the footsteps of his famous father, John Huston, his famous grandfather, Walter Houston. This is the perfect film for him to talk about because he can not only talk about his father's direction, but also his grandfather's Oscar winning performance in the movie and how these two work together. And that is another film that is going to look so wonderful on the big screen, even so many years after it was released. And there's also the Strawberry Blonde is going to be presented as a restoration,
Uh-huh.
and that's part of the Warner Brothers 100 celebration. That's a film that I love because it's got James Cagney, Rita Hayworth, and Olivia de Havilland. But I am looking forward to seeing how it looks now that it's been restored on the big screen. That's always exciting to have these restorations, and we have quite a few this year because of the Warner Brothers celebration.
I think it's so marvelous and it's so important, to preserve these films. And again, George Stevens Jr. talks about his grandmother, who was an actress, and
Yes.
many of her films were just lost, during that time period because they didn't even think about it. And the way they were filmed on nitrate, they just dissolved and became like paper. But I guess they found
Mm-hmm.
a few that he was able, to see here on the big screen later on, in life. And so it's just so important that we do preserve these films. We have no idea. We just think, oh, that's easy to preserve them, but it's not. There actually was a
No.
whole documentary that I saw last year at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. The documentary was all about preserving films and how they become detectives and how people all over the world are doing this and sharing films that they have and how to save them. And so it's just really, really
Mm-hmm.
important. So I'm so happy that this is one of the themes this year with the film festival, talking more about that, because it's such an important
Mm.
aspect of filmmaking for sure. So
Exactly. And it goes with our overall theme of the festival, which is, as you said, all about film legacies. So we're talking not only about the legacy of the past and the legacy of, these giants of the screen that are still being brought to life by their younger generations, but also the legacy of the movies and how we can continue the legacy for another 100+ years of these films, particularly the ones from the Warner Brothers archives with these brand new restorations. Some other restorations will be East of Eden and One Way Passage in Man's Castle. And then, of course, we mentioned Rio Bravo and Penny Serenade. So quite a few premiere restorations happening this year.
Very exciting. That's very, very exciting. Speaking of younger generation, let's talk about the evolution of the Henson puppetry. Can you talk a little
Yes.
bit about that?
I know it's going to be great to get to experience, the work of Jim Henson and the puppetry with Brian Henson will be there. He is a producer, director, writer in his own right, but of course he is also, very vital in continuing his father Jim Henson's legacy. So we get to hear from puppeteers and puppet masters about how puppetry has changed over the years. And I know for me personally, growing up, Jim Henson's work was very important to me. The Muppets became like my friends. And so it's going to be wonderful to get to hear from Brian Henson himself.
There's so many wonderful things that are going to be going on this year at the
I
film
know.
festival. It's exciting. I mean, last year was the first year after having 2 years off because of the pandemic, but I think this year's even going to, people were still kind of iffy last year a little bit. I think this year is going to be even better. And coming back, and certainly celebrating the 100 years of Warner Brothers adds a great deal to the festival this year, because it's, just gives us an opportunity to celebrate this, wonderful company that's survived. Not many, that many film studios have survived 100 years, and there's a lot that to be said about that in today's environment, for sure.
Yes, it's a legacy studio. It's seen so many changes over the years, but there've been so many not only wonderful films, but actors and actresses. I especially love the great women of Warner Brothers, like Olivia de Havilland, who I mentioned, Betty Davis, Anne Sheridan. There were so many firecracker powerhouse women who really had to fight for equal pay and better roles. And both Betty Davis and Olivia de Havilland took Warner Brothers to court. But it's all part of this very storied history of the studio, which continues to innovate as it goes along. And it's great to see, so many filmmakers coming on board to help preserve the films, to help speak about the legacy. Another filmmaker, I've got this giant list of all the things I want to see at the festival. And another filmmaker I'm hoping to sneak in to hear Ben talk with is Steven Soderbergh, who's going to be introducing his film, Ocean's 11, in our category about films whether remakes are better than the original. So he'll be talking about the original Ocean's 11 and his version of Ocean's 11.
I definitely want to see that. I met him at the Sundance Film Festival. We actually stood at the bar talking.
Oh, cool.
It's one of those rare moments you go up to get a drink.
That seems very Sundance.
Steven Soderbergh next to me. Okay, so we had a really good conversation. That was pre-COVID.
So
it was January of 2020, right before. It was a petri dish at Sundance that year.
All right. Yeah, that's where a lot of people I heard got sick. But it's that's one of the best things about the film festival, and not only our film festivals in general, but the TCM Film Festival. You never know who you're going to bump into. I remember last year I walked backstage to get ready to host a film, and everyone was in masks, of course, but even with a mask, I could recognize Warren Beatty because he's very recognizable. So I saw him there, I clocked him, I knew I would go up and say hi. So I was prepared. I was like very poised and ready to say hello. So I went up and introduced myself to Warren Beatty because I'd never met him before. And then I didn't even notice who was standing next to me. And then one of our lovely staff members from TCM said, "Oh, and Alicia, this is Paul Thomas Anderson." And I'm a huge fan of his movies. So I literally grabbed him by the arm and I said, "What?" in his face. And he sort of chuckled and was like, "Hi, Alicia," because he watches TCM all the time. And then Warren Beatty, in the very Warren Beatty way, said, why didn't I get that reaction? It was because I knew I was going to meet him. I just didn't know I was going to meet Paul Thomas Anderson. And that's the thing about this festival and all festivals. You just never know who you're going to bump into, because everybody's right there in the one space. And here it'll be right there in Hollywood.
It's so much fun. It really is. So where can people still get their tickets to the film festival? If they haven't gotten them yet, rush to go get the tickets.
Yeah, rush, as soon as you can to filmfestival.tcm.com. And you can also buy individual tickets as well as passes. So there's always a good chance to get in to see a film, even if you're going on the day to buy a ticket. So grab your pass, grab your ticket, however you can get there. It's worthwhile. And as you can attest, Jan, once you go once, you will want to keep going back every year.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Alicia, we could continue talking so much more, but it's been so great to have you back on the show again. Look forward to seeing you soon. And
thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you,
on your
Jan.
books,
It's so nice.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about those either, but we'll talk about them next time.
There's too much going on at the film festival. My mind is boggling with everything I am hopefully going to host or hopefully going to see. It's been wonderful to talk about some of that with you, Jan, and it's always nice to see your face as one of our regulars at the festival.
Thank you. You too, sweetheart. Thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.